Like the mountain ranges of Guyana, Roraima Airways stands above, committed to the highest standards, serve the country we are loved. For business or pleasure, we satisfy our needs. Flying over rivers and mountain peaks, Roraima Airways soars above. Roraima Airways, fly with us. Show you the splendor, take your breath away. Come see the natural beauty, as truly Guyanese. Feel the thunder of the tidal falls, majestic and unique. Roraima Airways, we'll take you there.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Roraima Hour. My name is Jerry Gavine. I'm going to be one of your hosts tonight. I just want to wish all the fathers a belated Happy Father's Day. Last weekend, we celebrated Father's Day. I personally got to spend the day with my father riding through the jungle about 20 miles, bringing food to a lady who her home got flooded out and she was without food. So we decided to take on a little bit of an adventure and a little bit of corporate social responsibility. On today's show, we're going to be talking a little bit about corporate social responsibility, but not only from Roraima, but as well as Dynamic. And as well as you guys know, Dynamic has been with us for a little while. And that's why I'm going to introduce my co-host here, Delon Murray, and he's going to talk a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Jerry. We saw last year, in the month of June, we had the birth of Dynamic Airways, a new way to fly. And today we'll be celebrating our first anniversary. And in doing so, we will have our flight crew right here. Some Guyanese people who will tell you some of the things that they have experienced personally and how Dynamic have impacted their life.
Exactly. So it's not just about moving people, but how is Dynamic actually giving back to the community? Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Roraima Hour. My name is Jerry Gavine, and again, I'm going to be your host tonight. As I said earlier, tonight we're going to be talking a little bit about Dynamic. Now, for those of you who don't know, Dynamic International Airways has been flying in Guyana now for 1 year. The 1 year anniversary actually just passed a few days ago, and we have seen massive evolvement of the product and the services that Dynamic International Airways offers. Over the last year, we had some challenges, but it is definitely evolved over the last 6 months, where we are running 4 days a week on time, every time. So what I have with me in here, or who I have with me in here today, is Captain Lawrence Skinner. He's one of Dynamic's senior captains, and we have with us Mr. Patrick Triumph, and he's one of Roraima's managers. So today we're going to be talking with Captain Skinner, and he's going to give us a little insight in the safety aspects, as well as what does it really take to be a Dynamic pilot, and what is Dynamic bringing to the table. So Captain Skinner, welcome.
Thank you very much, Jerry. It's a pleasure to be here with you all today. First, I'd like to say that Dynamic is full-time committed to Guyana and our operation here, and we have continued to expand, and we strive daily for an on-time service for you. We are continuing to incorporate into our crews, maintenance, flight attendants, and captains, and we've actually expanded that. Also, I'd like to let you know that we have had over a 26% increase in our seat capacity here over the last couple of months here on our Guyana, New York operation.
Nice.
It's a pleasure to be part of a fantastic team here. And again, we're not only trying to help the airline, but we're also working with Guyana to improve the infrastructure and to help the Guyanese people in the whole, and by creating jobs. And we're actually working on another project right now, which we're implementing, where we're going to have a training program, actually a pilot program. So what we'll be able to do is offer other things to the people in Guyana, and if the pilots and people that have that future in aviation, they could come up through the ranks and do a pilot program along with Roraima Airways.
Exactly. So that's one of the great things about Dynamic. Roraima Airways and Dynamic International Airways, we actually created a very tight-knit bond very early on. Right. And then from the get-go, it was Roraima and Dynamic, slugging it out, making it happen. And what happened is that Dynamic came down with an idea, and Roraima came on board, and we were able to now create a fantastic service, a reliable service, and with Roraima's synergy of services as well as Dynamic's world-class standards, we now have one of the leading airlines here in Guyana. Absolutely. So as Captain Skinner mentioned, Roraima and Dynamic came together again with a new program, a pilot program, where we can now take pilots flying here in the jungle. Once they have hit certain requirements from the FAA, they are now going to be given a chance to sit in the 767 and start gaining valuable jet time. All right? And Captain Skinner, I mean, you've been flying now how long? 20 plus years, 30 plus years?
It's actually over 35 now.
35 years, and that's how long it usually takes for someone to get to the level that you are flying 767s. So the opportunity for young pilots like myself or the other young pilots here in Guyana to get a jump start into that industry. I'm sure you must see it as being like, why couldn't I have something like that when I was...
Yeah, I've been very blessed. I've been able. Actually, I was brought up in an aviation family. Nice. My father, my grandfather before him, and so it's been quite a career. And I've been through numerous airlines, and I'm just glad to have found Dynamic and found a niche here where I can have a place to hang my hat, so to say, in a new family. And again, and we are very committed to our long-term relationship. This isn't a here today, gone tomorrow airline enterprise. This is actually a long-term commitment with a business plan. And we're looking forward to many years of future work with Roraima and the Dynamic and the Guyana family we have here.
Right, exactly. So, and that's just it again. So, like Captain Skinner here says, he comes from a long line of aviation professionals, and as well as the other Dynamic pilots, they all come from a long line of aviation professionals. I mean, these guys have upwards of 20,000 hours, some of them, and they have flown everything from the Islanders that you see flying around here in Guyana, all the way up to the DC-8s or DC-9s, which you're going to see in those old bomber movies, as well as some of the more modern aircraft, as the 767s and so. So, in terms of the pilot experience, Dynamic really has a wide breadth to choose from, and they have chosen excellent pilots. Because in the 76, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have 2 qualified captains sitting in the front there.
Yes, we're actually very committed to that right now. We actually have dueling captains, as we like to call it, in the aviation industry. So you have all that experience to feed upon, and we really have a fantastic group of captains right now, and very qualified crews from all multiple airlines around the world that have actually built into our family. So.
Absolutely. And then the thing is that this 767, it's not a regular 767, is it?
We have actually all 3 models. We have actually 2 models. We have 200s and 300s. We're using our 300ER to service Guyana now out of New York. Mm-hmm. But we have, throughout our fleet, we've got different models of engines, both GEs, Pratts, and Rolls-Royce. Right. And so it's quite a varied fleet of aircraft.
Right, but you guys have the wide-body 767,
correct,
so you guys can carry a lot more cargo and people, which means that you can, make affordable service for the people here in Guyana. But tell me, so you guys have, seven 767s that are flying around the world now?
Yes, that's correct.
Right, and you yourself just came back from China, correct?
I just came back from overseas, yes. Nice. We also have an operation out of Hong Kong servicing Palau. And we're soon to start another couple of different locations, partly in Asia and again here on this end of the country. So
okay, so there you go. So they're flying all over the world, and even here, I mean, they're looking to expand their routes down here in South America as well as going to other places, not just JFK. But stay tuned. You're going to be seeing Dynamic opening the doors to more countries and expanding their reach to different parts of the world. So Patrick, you were involved in the executive level, let's call it, the planning phases of Dynamic. And I know you worked very closely with Captain Gavaya, or I like to call him Dad, in a lot of the negotiations and so on. So what have you seen from a non-pilot perspective, this Dynamic Roraima relationship?
Well, first of all, I must say I'm very pleased to have associated with Roraima and Dynamic Airways from the very inception. What Dynamic has brought is a strategic partnership to benefit the Guyanese and the international travelers. Captain Skinner, of course, alluded to the fact that the pilots are quite experienced, that Dynamic has a number of aircraft, a fantastic and reliable fleet of aircraft. What has happened, they've provided employment for Guyanese, flight attendants in particular, who have had the opportunity to travel with Dynamic and expand their horizon, traveling all over the world. I think this is a great success for the partnership. But even more so, I think that Dynamic Roraima partnership has actually has changed the aviation landscape here in Guyana, where you find that prices, fares are more competitive, the services are impeccable. I mean, there are hardly anywhere I can go and hear the compliments that are being provided and given for the flight attendants or the service that the passengers receive. So I think dynamic Roraima partnership has risen to the level of the status of a national airline.
Okay.
And I think over the years that the challenges was as a result of many things. First of all, the safety is a big factor. And it's not very uncommon that there may be a change in a schedule because of mechanical issue or weather conditions. These are normal circumstances. But unfortunately, the passengers really do not understand to that extent. However, it's very important that I think dynamic places safety first. And there have never been any safety issue over the year. And I think we can commend ourselves on that.
Absolutely.
But I think it's a great partnership, and more will be expected forthcoming in that partnership over the years. You did allude to the fact that there would be the cadet program, the training. In that I see opportunities for young pilots like yourself. I shouldn't say young because you're a captain. Okay.
Still think I'm young. I think I'm young.
Who can seize the opportunity and now fly those aircraft, the 767s, that they would not have normally envisaged of flying. So I'm very happy to be associated with Dynamic from the very inception.
Absolutely.
And I look forward to us attaining a full-fledged national status whereby the service and the fares continue to be so competitive within the aviation industry.
Absolutely. Well, Patrick, you're definitely a man of vision, but fortunately your vision is shared not only by us here at Roraima, but Dynamic as well. The goal is to become the standard of international aviation here. And running an aviation organization is not easy. I mean, when it comes to fuel, crew times, getting your slot in JFK, I mean, it's a headache. But the thing is that no matter what challenges that we have faced over the last year, the thing is that Dynamic has never, ever, not once, left their passengers stranded. They have always taken care of their passengers, no matter what hardships came. But now, over the last 6 months, as I said earlier, it has been on time, every time. And the thing is, and I want to commend our ground crew here, our Roraima ground crew here at Chetty Jagan, as well as the Dynamic employees there up in Greensboro and in JFK. I mean, they're doing a fantastic job at turning these 767s.
Oh, absolutely. By the way, you did allude that I'm a man of vision, but I think the true visionary is the captains, Debbie and Jerry Gavayas.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, when you think of the linkage that this partnership has brought on economically, socially, and even politically, you realize that employment is being created. There's employment not only for flight attendants and pilots, but we have the aviation security, we have the ground handling tours, we have the tours and transport, whereby more tourists come into Guyana, we can then, open our tourist sector, ecotourism. We have our hotels. We have so many linkage in the economy that would benefit from this entire operation.
Exactly, and that's the great thing. And as Captain Skinner said, is that he saw a 26% increase in the load factor, which last time I checked, it was hovering roughly in the high 80s. Which means, how much people does the 767 take?
Oh, 235, depending on the airplane. We have different months. We've been increasing, though. We had, I think we brought in 170 yesterday.
Exactly. So we're bringing...
Including 5 children, so it's approximately 175, or infants, because we count them as souls, but not as the other.
Full passengers, right, exactly.
Correct. And the important point is that Dynamic flies non-stop.
Exactly.
So the big hassle that we have experienced in the past of traveling in Trinidad and Jamaica, where we were kind of... it was kind of burdensome and travel was not really a pleasure. Now you can get on the aircraft and within a few hours,
Right.
you're there at JFK.
Exactly.
So I think that's one of the biggest plus that we have managed to have changed the entire landscape of the aviation industry.
Exactly, and that's the thing. So, Dynamic is here to stay, everyone, and they have been definitely upping their numbers. They have been focusing on service. They know what needs to be done, and they're getting it done.
I'm just one of the pilots, and we have our lovely flight attendants and our 2 flight crew front end people. But it takes much more than that to move this airplane, from the infrastructure at Dynamic to maintenance control to operations, the people on the ground that have their feet dirty every time, the fuelers, the handlers, the baggage people, as you spoke of the security. There is a vast number of people that aid and give us the support so I can do my job safely, productively, to make that on-time departure. From the gate handlers and the people trying to get the people out to the airplane in a timely fashion. And I'm impressed. I can't stress enough that it's a great pleasure to be here and part of this big team of people helping us move forward into the future with Roraima and Dynamic.
There you go. All right, guys. So you guys have heard from Captain Lawrence Skinner and Mr. Patrick Triumph. They spoke a little bit about the Dynamic Roraima partnership. And Dynamic is here to stay, everybody. Dynamic Airways is definitely a dynamic organization, and they're ever evolving. And Roraima is going to be working alongside with them every step of the way to make sure that the Guyanese people has a service that they can rely on. What's going to happen next is that we're gonna take a little commercial break, and then we're going to sit down with our flight attendants, all Guyanese flight attendants who were given the opportunity by Dynamic to not only gain their experience but also travel the world. So join me just after this commercial break, and we're going to be sitting down with 3 beautiful young ladies.
Arrow Point Nature Resort, nestled in the Santa Mission Amerindian Reservation, is an ideal getaway for nature and adventure enthusiasts. You can stay overnight or just for the day and participate in a range of fun-filled activities. In the day, you can go mountain biking, kayaking, pedal boating, and bird watching. At night, relax and enjoy a bonfire dinner or take an expedition into the rainforest. The resort is also perfect for events such as company retreats, fun days, and weddings. Arrow Point Nature Resort, the Back to Nature Resort.
Welcome back. You're watching the Roraima Hour, and Jerry would have given you a little recap of what happened with Dynamic over the years. You want to say happy birthday again to Dynamic Airways. But in studio, we're talking about Dynamic impact, the impact of Dynamic on the personal lives of our Guyanese. Not just that it brought cheap fares to travel from Georgetown to New York, but in studio right now, we have 3 beautiful ladies. Yeah. And they're smiling. I want to introduce to you Alana Singh to my immediate right. And in the middle, we have Tifiana Campbell. And lastly, we have Tiffany Isaacs. Welcome, ladies, to the studio.
Hello. Hi.
Yes, and they're flight attendants. I know they would have. Some of you would have seen them serving you as you travel from Guyana to New York, straight flight. Yeah, but right now we want to talk about looking back a year ago, and its Dynamic's impact on your personal life. And the first question I want to ask you is, what were you doing a year ago before you joined the Dynamic team? And I'll start with Tifiana. She's been smiling and she's so anxious to go. So what have you been doing before you joined the Dynamic team?
Okay, before I joined the Dynamic family, it was the work clerical, basically the 9 to 5, the usual life of any other person. And then Dynamic came to Guyana with this big job fair that had the minds of so many people wondering, so many people wanting the opportunity. And the thing is, we had so many applicants. It was about 450 to 500 applicants, and the job fair lasted about 2 days. Out of those applicants, we sat down in groups and we were interviewed. And with that, you had to stand out amongst the persons in the group. Then we got selected and we went on to do the other stuff. And then before we know it, we were in North Carolina training to become flight attendants.
Have you been to America before?
No.
Wow. Dynamic certainly giving you the opportunity.
Right,
yes.
It was. And you didn't feel it until you actually stepped on Dynamic plane and they took off, and then you said, you know what, this is real. This is real. It was like really teary for a lot of people. It was.
Well, I'll get back to you because I want to talk to you about a little bit dealing with customer service. I know sometimes flight attendants have the world of patience. But still on the question of how what you've been doing a year prior to joining the Dynamic family, we'll go to Alana Singh. Right,
Yeah.
I don't want to get it wrong. Yeah.
A year prior ago to Dynamic, I was pursuing professional nursing. What drew me to Dynamic is because growing up as a child, I always dreamt of being a flight attendant, going to the airport, going to pick up my family members that are coming in. I saw these girls and they're walking out, and right there and then, that was my passion. That is what I really wanted to do. And when I saw the job fair, I did what I had to do. I left nursing and I left nursing and I didn't actually was hired as yet. And so I knew this was for me and I made that step. I made that big leap. I know I left a career for another career, but thus far it's been amazing doing what I love.
Okay, thank
Yes.
you. And prior to that, is one of the same questions I asked
Yes.
Tifiana. Some of the countries you've traveled prior to joining the Dynamic family.
Prior to Dynamic, I've been to Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
You traveled the Caribbean. So now
Yes.
with Dynamic, where have you gone?
I have been international. As our name says right now, the word international has been added to our Dynamic Airways. We're now Dynamic International Airways. So right now we're all flying internationally.
Great,
So we've
great.
been traveling across the globe.
We've visited a lot of places. We've
Mm-hmm.
been India, Saudi Arabia, Guam, Hong Kong, Changsha, China, Anchorage, Alaska.
Hawaii.
It's beautiful.
So if I say ni hao, what do you say? Gotcha. Tiffany, I want to bring you in here in the conversation because I know you've been anxious as well. And how has Dynamic impacted your life personally?
Well, I actually wasn't really living in Guyana before Dynamic. A year ago, I moved to Trinidad to pursue my music career. I'm a songwriter.
But then we can ask you to pull a note before we go. Hope you haven't lost its string.
Oh, no.
No, okay.
Music is definitely a big part of my life, and that's the perfect thing about working with this company. You still have the chance to do what you love and do what you love. I'm still doing music, but when I'm not flying, and flying around the world, it gives you such a feeling, and meeting new people, it actually inspires me to write new music. So it's definitely a win-win for me. But my brother messaged me and he said, there's a airline coming here and I think you'd be perfect for it. And I'm like, I'm not sure. He said, this is the email, why don't you just send your resume? And I sent my resume. 2 days after, I got the email, congratulations, we would, love to meet you. So I didn't get a chance to be a part of the job fair. But yes, I flew in from Trinidad. I attended the interview. It was a lot of people.
Wow.
It was a lot of people. But thankfully, I stood out, and I think it was 2 days after they called and they were like, "Hey, we want you to be a part of the
Yeah, and they were like all excited, like, "Hey,
Yeah,
what's
yay.
next?" Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
It's a family. It's definitely it was an overwhelming feeling.
Feeling.
And then we got ready to head to training, which was hard.
Yes.
Training to be a
Tough
flight attendant.
training,
It's not easy. You have to be diligent. You have to know what you're about, and most importantly, you have to realize that
you're dealing
are
with
responsible for lives. So it has impacted my life in such a beautiful way. I'm more responsible. I am more together. I am happier.
Great, great, ladies. But coming back, you talked about hard work and being hard training. And I know sometimes when you're finished with the training, you're there, you're flying from one destination to the other, dealing with passengers sometimes. Brings a lot of good memories.
Indeed.
So let's talk a little about the patience with dealing with passengers, especially with Dynamic, because Dynamic Airways, we want persons to know, give persons the opportunity to just fly with ease, not just a cheap fare, but giving you quality service. Let's start with you again, Tifiana.
Okay, well, basically, flying with Dynamic Airways, International Airways, is a major opportunity, I must say that. But we are trained professionals. We were trained on passenger handling as well as safety procedures and everything else that the flight attendants need to be trained on. So flying over the year that we're here, we gained the knowledge and experience that we need to handle the passengers. And I must say, we have some really, really really polite passengers, passengers that are easy to deal with. And I'm glad that you asked me before you move on to the rest. You asked a few minutes ago how dynamic impact the lives of many people, right? You asked about us. But I'm going to give you a fair knowledge on how they impact the lives of my passengers.
Wow.
More
and I like
so,
the way you say my passengers. You
my
take
guests,
personal
actually.
responsibility.
My guests.
Yes.
But doing the Guyana to New York route, I have noticed that we have a lot of Guyanese in New York. More so to speak, we have a lot of elderly guests that flies with us. I know how frustrating and exhausting it is to have these intermediate stops. So Dynamic is offering the service, as Mr. Triumph mentioned, to fly from one destination to another straight without no hesitation. Because I know these intermediate stops with the deplaning board and all, so that we're on point with our one-way transportation from Georgetown to New York.
Oh, great. And as well as cheap fares, we talk about cheap fares and, great customer service. And we're grateful that you're here as testimony that Dynamic come into the Guyanese market a year ago. I want to say happy birthday again to Dynamic.
Yes.
And we want to encourage persons to come on board. But I want to ask you, Tiffany,
Yes.
because you said you weren't living here, you were living in Trinidad,
Yes,
you came and you were part of it. Now, would you give up anything in space of this experience, over a year now, would you give it up?
Oh, absolutely not. Dynamic has... It's working along with your fellow Guyanese and then seeing... There's no greater feeling than letting your passengers deplane and seeing that smile on their face and they're saying, oh my God, the service was amazing. Thank you so much.
Yes.
We are going to fly with Dynamic. And I have seen passengers a few times back and forth and they're like, we just love the service, the prices are fair. No, I wouldn't trade this for anything. The experience and the love of my crew, the love of my passengers and my company, from the top to the bottom. The pilots are amazing.
We're a big family.
Big
We're,
family.
a
And Alana,
dynamic family.
Yes, I know that you're not just a flight attendant with all, you're the crew, but you're also in charge. A little more responsibility, I heard that you...
Yes. I have recently been sent to Miami, Florida at the Pan Am Flight Academy to be upgraded to be the check flight attendant for our Guyanese flight attendants. So
you're the mother of them all?
I would say I'm the leader, I'm the highest ranked so far, right? And with this is like a good opportunity, not for me only, for the other flight attendants also to be promoted. And with this, Guyana in the whole can see that Dynamic International Airways has brought opportunity to the Guyanese flight attendants, the flight attendants they hired from Guyana.
All right,
Yes.
great. But before we go, I got to come back to Tiffany. We're going to be. I want to get you queued up because you got to sing "Happy Birthday" to Dynamic. But we still to come on the program. Still to come on the program, the Roraima Hour. We'll be talking about Insulair and some destination that you can travel in September. Let me tell you something. If you're looking forward to see John Legend, Enrique Iglesias, and some great names on one stage, you need to go to Insulair and travel to Curacao. But before we go, we got to say happy birthday. So we go back to Tiffany as she sings us, serenade me. Let me hear you.
I need some help from my crew. As
Yes.
Oh,
We're a crew.
let's go. And I'll see if I chip in.
Will you help?
I'll try.
Okay.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Dynamic. Happy birthday to you. Oh, yeah. Great, Tiffany. Thank you and the crew. We'll be right back right after these messages. And remember, stick with us. You're watching the Roraima Hour. If you just joined us, you're watching the Roraima Hour. In the first half of the program, we would have dealt with all things Dynamic because we're celebrating 1 year of Dynamic Airways to Guyana. And of course, we would have been singing. Yeah, I hope you would have watched me totally kill that song. Doing it all good. What about you, Jenny? What do you think? I can sing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you gave those girls a run for their money.
Stop it. But let's talk about, to give a little recap before we go into our second half of the program, some things you would have covered.
Absolutely. So today we got a chance to speak to Captain Lawrence Skinner, and he's one of Dynamic's senior captains. And he basically gave us an outline of what Dynamic is about in terms of safety and reliability and their security. So, we heard about the Roraima Dynamic team that we formed over the last year. And from the get-go, Roraima Airways and Dynamic International Airways, we were two peas in a pod, and we stuck it out, and now we have evolved the service into something that we can truly say is of international standards, and we've been getting nothing but glowing reviews.
Exactly.
Over the last 6 months, we've been running on time, every time, 4 flights a week, and we're taking off within 10 minutes of our departure time, and that is fantastic, sometimes even before our departure time.
Great. And we were even talking about adding another day to the flights of Dynamic. I think it's a Sunday we're talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So during the summer periods, we're actually looking to increase the flights an extra day on Sundays because the interest is there. We're operating at 86% load factor. So if you think about it, that's almost 200 people coming in and out of Guyana 4 days a week now, and 5 days a week coming in. I think it's July. So Dynamic is expanding. They're looking to expand their routes now. I'm from Canada, so I'm waiting very excitedly about when they start going to Toronto. They're also looking to go into some other locations as well. And as you noted earlier before, Dynamic is a non-stop service. You get on in Guyana
and you get off.
And you get off in New York. It's easy.
Great. Well, as we continue to talk more about all things Roraima, because Dynamic is one part of Roraima group of companies, and the second half we'll be talking about Insular and a bumper sticker promotion coming up.
So not only is Dynamic, we're moving people on time and with great service, but Dynamic has also made a commitment to the Guyanese people, to Guyana as a country. Starting off a year ago, they chose 25 young men and women to join their ranks as flight attendants, and then did all of their training. I mean, we hosted that job fair at Roraima, at the Roraima Duke Lodge, and it was a 2-day intensive period where we saw lots and lots of hopeful Guyanese. And Dynamic is committed to training these people to international standards. Not only that, but you heard us mention that that Dynamic and Roraima are bringing in a cadet pilot program. And what does that mean? That means that young pilots now have an opportunity to, once they build their requisite time and experience, that they can now have a jump start into the jet world flying 767s. And for most pilots, that's a 20-year dream, but some of these pilots can get to do it in as little as 5 or 6.
But we're seeing Dynamic giving more and more persons the opportunity to be able to realize their dream, like we've seen Tiffany and Alana in the first half of our program talking about how a Dynamic impacted their life personally. We would have not just talked about that, but we talked about the safety regulations we would have covered in traveling Dynamic, and also the cheap fares.
Exactly.
We talk about cheap fares, but nothing cheap. There's nothing cheap about Dynamic.
No, it's affordable.
It's always affordable fares with great customer service to ensure that you travel not just with ease, but whenever you travel, you're safe. From one destination to the other.
So if you're looking to travel with Dynamic, you can always contact us at our general sales office at Duke Lodge in Kingston. And the number, if you know it off the top of your head,
yes, the number is 231-7220. 231-7220. Call, and of course we'll tell you about some folks coming up in the second half of our program who you can call, like Jane and Stevens, who's just in our studio. Yeah. They're just smiling. Yes. Exactly. Also in our second half, we'll give you some more incentive to travel with Insular, because on the 3rd, 4th, and the 5th of September, there's going to be a Northwest Jazz Festival in Curacao. And if you're looking forward to see John Legend, Enrique Iglesias, Whitecliff, the Pointer Sisters, they'll be all on one stage in Curacao. You need to travel with Insular.
All right, thank you. So everyone, we're going to take a quick commercial break, I think, Delon?
Yes, and we'll be right back with more. You're watching the Roraima Outdoors.
Exactly. So, and I keep saying this, is that people think that going on vacation means leaving Guyana, right? And that's not the case. Guyana has so much to offer. We have waterfalls, we have mountains, we have horseback riding, we have kayaking, we have jungle treks. So the thing is that there's so much to do right here at home that you don't even need to leave the country to have a fantastic summer and a fantastic vacation. So at Roraima, what we have is a few specials this summer. trips to Arrow Point Nature Resort. We do trips to Kiteshore Falls, which is, as you guys know, is one of the wonders of the world. It's the world's largest single drop waterfall. And the greatest thing about that is it's in our backyard. So right at Roraima, we can take you to this magnificent falls. And then even if you're feeling a little bit more adventurous, we can take you to the Urunduke Falls, which is just on the border of Brazil.
Yeah.
And in that falls, actually, you can go swimming right in the falls.
Good. I like how you talked about the combo packages of the Urunduke Falls and Kiteshore Falls. But what if persons want to be able to overnight? They want to stay probably 2-3 days. We can be able to talk about our Arrow Point Nature Resort. How does that come in and giving them that adventurous experience as well?
Absolutely. So the thing is that, you know, if Arrow Point has so much to offer. If you're looking for a adventure tour where you're going to go kayaking in the middle of the jungle, winding your way through the creek, and then mountain biking through the jungle trails, dodging the trees, or if you're looking for a beautiful, relaxing weekend, laying in the hammock on the creekside, and taking a stroll with your significant other down the beach, we have it all at Arrow Point. And the great thing about Arrow Point is that you can go in for the day, or you can go in for 1, 2, 3, 4 nights if you're interested. And what I personally recommend to people is go and spend the night, because sleeping out in Arrow Point gives you the experience of camping and rustic adventure with all the amenities of being right in town. For example, you still have hot and cold water, you still have electricity so you can charge your iPhone, you have internet, although we don't let you use it for the most part because we want to get people back to nature.
And oftentimes you talk about that couples, family members just need something to put down the devices and spend quality time with their family and friends, and going to Arrow Point gives you that opportunity to just relax and just take it in. Remember what's priority.
Exactly. So it's not like you won't have an alarm clock, because I guarantee you at 6 o'clock in the morning, the birds are going to be singing and you're going to be awoken to parrots and toucans, and you're going to be watching the agouti going and getting their fruit, because right on Arrow Point we have a large family of animals, and you get to see all of them when you're there. So the greatest thing about Arrow Point is it's your adventure. If you're looking for a hard adventure or a soft adventure,
it gives you that.
It's your adventure. So the biggest thing at Roraima here is that we can tailor make your experience. So if you're looking for 60 people, you have a family reunion that is looking to come down for summer and they're looking for something to do, we can take you to Arrow Point, we can take you to Kiteshore, we can take you to Urunduke. We can even do a combination tour where we take you to all 3 places, and you will end the day sleeping comfortably in Arrow Point, listening to the wind as it rustles over the trees.
Yeah. Well, Jerry would have put it in a nutshell, giving you the opportunity to try to travel and to tour Guyana, at a very affordable cost. And we want to remind you that you're watching the Roraima Hour. We would have talked so far about Dynamic Airways celebrating their first anniversary in Silier with a bumper sticker promotion. Also, we would have been able to sing and hear the beautiful voices of 3 lovely ladies. They're part of the Dynamic team. They're all Guyanese, and Dynamic is really impacting their life. But this is the Roraima Hour, and of course we talk all things Roraima, from traveling domestic tours to traveling internationally. As you remember the ad a few years ago, Jerry, your dad would say, if you want to be on top of the world, you need to climb Mount Everest, but if you want to go around the world, you come with Roraima. And Roraima is definitely giving you the chance to travel the world.
Exactly. And then that's one of the great things about, we have a motto at Roraima, and it's, when is the last time you have tried something for the first time? Right? So come to Roraima, and if you want to go to JFK, we'll take you. If you want to go to Aruba or Curacao or Manaus, we'll take you. If you want to go and explore the beautiful country that you live in, Guyana, we will take you. So come, you can call us on 225-9648, right? And you can book all of your tours, and we will handle all of your arrangements right there. It's a one-stop shop here at Roraima. So thank you for joining us here on the Roraima Hour. My name is Jerry Gavaya, and
I'm Dylan Murray.
And we thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next month.
Yes, do take care, and remember always, Roraima, satisfying all your travel needs. Do take care.
Like the mountain ranges of Guyana, Roraima Airways stands above, committed to the highest standards, serving the country we are loved. For business or pleasure, we satisfy your needs. Flying over rivers and mountain peaks, Roraima Airways soars above. Roraima Airways, fly with us. wonder, take your breath away. Come see the natural beauty as truly Guyanese. Hear the thunder of the Niger falls, majestic and unique. Roraima Airways, we'll take you there.